Unidentified flying object. For other users, see unidentified flying object is disambiguation. UFO redirects here from other users. See UFO disambiguation. UFO redirects here for the genus of gull wasps. See UFO. Unidentified flying object UFO is an object observed in the sky that is not readily identified. Most UFOs are later identified as conventional objects or phenomena. The term is widely used to claim it observation of extraterrestrial spacecraft. Terminology. The term UFO or UFOB was coined in 1953 by the United States Air Force as USAF to serve as a catch-all for all such reports. In its initial definition, the USAF stated that the UFOB, Uniform Fox Oscar Bravo, was an airborne object which by performance, aerodynamic characteristics, or unusual features does not conform to any presently known aircraft of missile type, or which can be positively identified as a familiar object. Accordingly, the term was initially restricted to that fraction of cases which remained unidentified after investigation, as the US Air Force was interested in potential national security reasons and technical aspects. See Air Force Regulation 200-2. During the late 40s and through the 50s, UFOs were often referred to popularly as flying saucers or flying discs. The term UFO became more widespread during the 50s at the first in technical literature, but later in popular use, UFOs garnered considerable interest during the Cold War, an era associated with the heightened concern for national security, and more recently in the 2010s for unexplained reasons. Nevertheless, various studies have concluded that the phenomenon does not represent a threat to national security, nor does it contain anything worthy of scientific pursuit. AJ 51, Flying Saucer Working Party. 53, the CIA Robertson Panel. US Air Force Project Blue Book, Countdown Committee. The Oxford English Dictionary defines a UFO as an identified flying object, a flying saucer. The first published book to use the word was authored by Donald A.K. Hull, as an acronym UFO was coined by Captain Edward J. Rappelt, who headed Project Blue Book, then the US Air Force official investigation of UFOs. He wrote, obviously, the term flying saucer is misleading when applied to objects of every conceivable shape and performance. For this reason, the military prefers the more general, if less colorful, name unidentified flying objects. UFO pronounced UFO for short. Other phrases that were used officially and that predate the UFO acronym include flying flapjack, flying disc, unexplained flying discs, and unidentifiable object. The phrase flying saucer has gained widespread attention after the summer of '47. On June 24, a civilian pilot named Kenneth Arnold reported seeing 9 objects flying in formation near Mount Rainier. Arnold timed the sighting and estimated the speed of this to be over 1,200 mph, 1,931 km per hour. At the time, he claimed he described the objects flying in a saucer-like fashion, leading to newspaper accounts of flying saucers and flying discs. UFOs were commonly referred to colloquially as a bogey by military personnel and pilots during the Cold War. The term bogey was originally used to report anomalies in radar blips to indicate possible hostile forces that might be roaming in the area. In popular usage, the term UFO came to be used to claim of alien spacecraft, and because of the public and the media ridicule associated with the topic, some ufologists and investigators prefer to use terms such as unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP, Uniform Alpha Papa, or anomalous phenomena. As in the title of the National Aviation Reporting Center on Anomalous Phenomena, NARCAP, anomalous aerial vehicle, AAV, or unidentified aerial system, UAS, Uniform Alpha Sierra, are also sometimes used in a military aviation context to describe unidentified targets. Studies. Studies have established that the majority of UFO observations are misidentified, conventional objects or natural phenomena, most commonly aircraft, balloons, noctilucent clouds, nacreous clouds, or astronomical objects such as meteors or bright planets, while a small percentage even being hoaxes. Between 5% and 20% of reported sightings are not explained and therefore can be classified as unidentified in the strictest sense. While proponents of the extraterrestrial hypothesis, Echo Tango Tel ETH, suggest that these unexplained reports are of alien spacecraft, the null hypothesis can't be excluded that these reports are simply other more prosaic phenomena that can be identified to lack of complete information or due to the necessary subjectivity of the reports. Instead of accepting the null hypothesis, UFO enthusiasts tend to engage in special pleading by offering outlandish and tested explanations for the validity of the ETH. This violates Occam's razor. Almost no scientific papers about UFOs have been published in peer-reviewed journals. There was in the past some debate in the scientific community about whether any scientific investigation into UFO sightings is warranted, with the general conclusion being that the phenomenon was not worthy of serious investigation except as a cultural artifact. UFOs have been the subject of investigation by various governments who have provided extensive records related to the subject. Many of the most investigations by various governments who have provided extensive records related to the subject, many of the most involved government-sponsored investigations ended after agencies concluded that there was no benefit to continued investigation. The void left by the lack of scientific study has given rise to independent researchers and fringe groups, including the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, NECAP, in the mid-20th century, and more recently the Mutual UFO Network, the MUFON, and the Center of UFO Studies, the CUFOS. The term ufology is used to describe the collective efforts of those who study reports and associated evidence of an unidentified flying object. Flying objects. UFOs have become a prevalent term in modern culture, and the social phenomena have been the subject of academic research in sociology and psychology. Early history. Unexplained aerial observations have been reported throughout history. Some were undoubtedly astronomical in nature, comets, bright meteors, or one or more of the 5 planets that can be readily seen with the naked eye. Planetary conjunctions of atmospheric optical phenomena such as parhelia and lenticular clouds. An example is Halley's comets, which was recorded first by Chinese astronomers in 240 before Christ and possibly as early as 467 before Christ. Such sightings throughout history often were treated as supernatural portents, angels, or other religious omens. Some current-day UFO researchers have noticed similarities between some religious symbols in medieval painting and UFO reports. Thus, the canonical and symbolic character of such images is documented by art historians, placing more conventional religious interpretations on such images. On April 14, in 1561, residents of Nuremberg described the appearance of a large black triangular object. According to witnesses, there were also hundreds of spheres, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects that moved erratically overhead. On January 25, in 1878, the Denison Daily News printed an article in which John Martin, a local farmer, had reported seeing a large dark circular object resembling a balloon flying at wonderful speed. Martin, according to the newspaper account, said it appeared to be about the size of a saucer, one of the first use of the word saucer in association with the UFO. In April 1897, thousands of people reported seeing airships in various parts of the United States. Many signed affidavits. Scores of people even reported talking to the pilots. Thomas Edison was asked his opinion and said, "You can take it from me that it is a pure fake." On February 28, 1904, there was a sighting by 3 crew members on the USS Supply 300 miles, 483 kilometers west of San Francisco, reported by Lieutenant Frank Schofield, later to become Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Battle Fleet. Schofield wrote of 3 bright red meteors, one egg-shaped and the other 2 round, that approached beneath the cloud layer, then soared above the clouds, departing after 2 to 3 minutes. The largest had an apparent size of about 6 cents, he said. The 3 earliest known pilot UFO sightings of 1,305 similar sightings catalogued by NARCAP took place in 1916 and 1926. On January 31, 1916, UK pilot near Rochefort reported a row of lights resembling lighted windows on a railway carriage that rose and disappeared. In January 1926, a pilot reported 6 flying manhole covers between Wichita, Kansas, and Colorado Springs, Colorado. In late September 1926, an airbagged pilot over Nevada said he had been forced to land by a huge wingless cylindrical object. On August 5, 1926, while traveling in the Humboldt Mountains of Tibet's Kokhono region, Russian explorer Nicholas Roerich reported members of his expedition saw something big and shiny reflecting the sun like a huge oval moving at great speed, crossing our camp. The thing changed in its direction from south to southwest, and we saw how it disappeared in the intense blue sky. We even had time to take our field glasses and saw quite distinctly an oval form with shiny surface, one side of which was brilliant from the sun. Another description by Roerich was of a shiny body flying from north to south. Field glasses are at hand. It is a huge body. One side glows in the sun. It is oval in shape. Then it somehow turns in another direction and disappears in the southwest. In the Pacific and European theaters during World War II, Foo Fighters, metallic spheres, balls of light, and other shapes that followed aircraft were reported and on occasion photographed by Allied and Axis pilots. Some proposed Allied explanations at the time included St. Elmo's fire. The planet Venus, hallucinations from oxygen deprivation of German secret weapons. In 1946, More than 2,000 reports were collected primarily by the Swedish military of unidentified aerial objects over the Scandinavian nations, along with isolated reports from France, Portugal, Italy, and Greece. The objects were referred to as Russian hail and later as ghost rockets, because it was thought that the mysterious objects were possibly a Russian test of captured German V-1 or V-2 rockets. Most were thought to be such natural phenomena as meteors. More than 200 were tracked on radar by the Swedish military and deemed to be real physical objects. In a 1948 top secret document, Swedish authorities advised the US Air Force Europe that some of their investigators believed this craft to be extraterrestrial in origin. Investigation. UFOs have been subject to investigations over the years that varied widely in scope and scientific rigor. Governments of independent academics in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Japan, Peru, France, Belgium, Sweden, Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, Mexico, Spain, and the Soviet Union are known to have investigated UFO reports at various times. Among the best-known government studies are the ghost rockets investigation by the Swedish military. In 1946 to 1947, the Project Blue Book, previously Project Sign and Project Grudgy, conducted by the US Air Force from 1947 until 1969, the secret US Army/Air Force Project Twinkle investigation into green fireballs from 1948 straight 1951, the secret U.S. Force Project Blue Book, Special Report Number 14 by the Bethel Memorial Institute and the Brazilian Air Forces in 1977, Operação Prato, Operation Saucer. France has had an ongoing investigation, the Japon/CEPRA/Japan, within its space agency Centre National d'Études Spatiales, CNES, since 1977. The government of Uruguay has had a similar investigation since 1989. The Project Sign. Main article, Project Sign. The Project Sign in 1948 produced the highly classified findings estimate of the situation, that the best UFO reports probably had an extraterrestrial explanation. A top secret Swedish military opinion given to the US Air Force in 1948 stated that some of their analysts believed that the 1946 ghost rockets and ladder flying saucers had extraterrestrial origins. For document, see ghost rockets. In 1954, German rocket scientist Hermann Huber revealed that an internal West German government investigation, which he headed, had arrived at an extraterrestrial conclusion, but this study was never made public. The Project Grudgy. Project Sign was dismantled and became Project Grudgy at the end of 1948, injured by the low quality of investigations by Grudgy. The Air Force Director of Intelligence reorganized it as a Project Blue Book in late 1951, placing Ruppelt in charge. Blue Book closed down in 1970. Using the Condon Committee's negative conclusion as a rationale, thus ending official Air Force UFO investigations. However, at 1969, U.S. Force document known as the Bolander Memo, along with later government documents, revealed that non-public US government UFO investigation continued after 1970. The Bolander Memo first stated that reports of unidentified flying objects that could affect national security are not part of the Blue Book system, indicating that more serious UFO incidents already were handled outside the public Blue Book investigation. The memo then added, reports of UFOs which could affect national security will continue to be handled through the standard Air Force procedures designed for this purpose. In addition, in the late 60s, a chapter on UFOs in the Space Sciences course at the US Air Force Academy gave serious consideration to possible extraterrestrial origins. When word of the curriculum became public, the Air Force in 70 used a statement to the effect that the book was outdated and that cadets instead were being informed of the Condon report's negative conclusion. US Air Force Regulation 200-2. Air Force Regulation 200-2, issued in 1953 and 1954, defined an identified flying object, UFOB, as an airborne object which by performance aerodynamic characteristics or unusual features does not conform to any presently known aircraft or missile type or which cannot be positively identified as a familiar object. The regulation also said UFOBs were to be investigated as a possible threat to the security of the United States and to determine technical aspects involved. The regulation went on to say that it is permissible to inform news media representatives on UFOBs when the object is positively identified as a familiar object, but added for those objects which are not explainable, only the fact that ATIC, Air Technical Intelligence Center, will analyze the data is worthy of release due to many unknowns involved. We continue with the Project Blue Book. G. Allen Hynek, a trained astronomer who served as a scientific advisor for Project Blue Book, was initially skeptical of UFO reports, but eventually came to the conclusion that many of them could not be satisfactorily explained and was highly critical of what he described as the cavalier disregard by Project Blue Book of the principles of scientific investigation. Leaving government work, he founded the privately founded UFOs, to whose work he devoted the rest of his life. Other private groups studying the phenomenon include the MUFON, a grassroots organization whose investigators' handbooks go into great detail on the documentation of alleged UFO sightings. Like Hynek, Jacques Vallée, a scientist and prominent UFO researcher, has pointed to what he believes in the scientific deficiency of most UFO research, including government studies. He complains of the mythology and cultism often associated with the phenomenon, but alleges that the several hundred professional scientists, a group both he and Hynek have termed the Invisible College, continue to study UFOs in private. Scientific studies. The study of UFOs has received support in mainstream scientific literature. Official studies ended in the use in the December 69, following the statement by the government scientist Edouard Condon that further study of UFOs could not be justified on grounds of scientific advancement. The Condon report and its conclusions were endorsed by the National Academy of Scientists, of which Condon was a member. On the other hand, the scientific review by the UFO Subcommittee of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, AEAA, disagreed with Condon's conclusion, noting that at least 30% of the cases studied remained unexplained and that scientific benefit might be gained by continued study. Critics argue that all UFO evidence is anecdotal and can be explained as a prosaic natural phenomena. Defenders of UFO research counter that knowledge of observational data, other than what it is reported in the popular media, is limited in the scientific community and that further study is needed. No official government investigation has ever publicly concluded that UFOs are indisputably real physical objects, extraterrestrial in origin, or of concern to national defense. These same negative conclusions also have been found in studies that were highly classified for many years, such as the UCAS, Flying Saucer Working Party, Project Condigne, the U.S. CIA-sponsored Robertson Panel, the U.S. military investigation into the green fireballs from 48 to 51, and the Bethel Memorial Institute study for the U.S. force from 52 to 55, the Project Blue Book Special Report number 14. Some public government reports have acknowledged the possibility of physical reality of UFOs, but have stopped short of proposing extraterrestrial origins, thus not dismissing the possibility entirely. Examples are the Belgian military investigation into large triangles over their airspace in 89, 91, and 2009. Uruguayan Air Force study conclusions see below. Some private studies have been neutral in their conclusions, but argued that the inexplicable core cases call for continued scientific study. Examples are the Sturrock panel study of 98 and the 1970 AEA review of the Condon Report, United States. U.S. investigation into UFOs include, according to UFO researcher Timothy Good, he received a letter from the Army's Director of Counterintelligence confirming the existence of the Interplanetary Phenomenon Unit. Good claims the letter shows that the IPU was established by the US Army sometimes in the 40s and disestablished sometime during the late 50s. The Project Blue Book, previously Project Sign and Project Grudgy, conducted by the US Air Force from 47 until 69. The secret US Army/Air Force project, the Twinkle investigation into green fireballs, 48 to 51. The Ghost Rockets investigation by the Swedish UKUS and Greek militaries in 46 to 47. The secret CIA Office of Scientific Investigation, OSS/E, study the 52 straight 53. The secret CIA Robertson Panel in 1953. The secret USAF project, the secret US Air Force Project Blue Book Special Report number 14 by the Battle Memorial Institute between 51 to 54. The Brookings Report in 1960, commissioned by NASA. The Public Condon Committee, the 1966 to 1968. The Privat Internal Rand Corporation Study, 1968. The Privat Sturrock Panel, 1998. The Secret Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, which was founded from 2007 to 2012. Thousands of documents released under FOIA also indicate that many US intelligence agencies collected and still collect information on UFOs. These agencies include the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, the FBI, the CIA, the National Security Agency, NSA, as well as military intelligence agencies of the Army and US Navy, in addition to the Air Force. The investigation of UFOs has also attracted many civilians who in the US formed research groups such as NICAP, active in 5680, Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, the APRO, the active in 52 to 88, the MUFON, active 69, and CUFOS, active in 1973. In November 2011, the White House released an official response to two petitions asking the US government to acknowledge formally that aliens have visited this planet and to disclose any intentional withholding of government interaction with extraterrestrial beings. According to the response, the US government has no evidence that any life exists outside our planet or that an extraterrestrial presence has contacted or engaged any member of the human race. Also, according to the response, there is no credible information to suggest that any evidence is being hidden from the public's eye. The response further noted that efforts like SETI and NASA, Kepler Space Telescope, and Mars Science Laboratory continue looking for seeds of life. The response noted odds are pretty high that there may be life on other planets, but the odds of us making contact with any of them, especially unintelligent ones, are extremely small given the distance involved. Post-1947 sightings. Following the large surge in sightings in June and early June 47, on July 9, 47, United States Army Air Force, US Air Force Intelligence, in cooperation with the FBI, began a formal investigation into selected sightings with characteristics that could not be immediately rationalized, such as Kenneth Arnold's. The US Air Force used all of its top scientists to determine whether such a phenomenon could in fact occur. The research was being conducted with the thought that the flying objects might be a celestial phenomenon, or that they might be a foreign body mechanically devised and controlled. 3 weeks later, in a preliminary defense estimate, the Air Force investigation decided that this flying saucer situation is not all imaginary or saying too much in some natural phenomenon. Something is really flying around. A further review by the Intelligence and Technical Divisions of the Air Material Command at Wright Field reached the same conclusion. It reported that the phenomenon is something real and not visionary or fictitious, that there were objects in the shape of a disc, metallic in appearance, and as big as man-made aircraft. They were characterized by extreme rates of climb, maneuverability, general lack of noise, absence of occasional formation flying, and evasive behavior when sighted or contacted by friendly aircraft and radar, suggesting a controlled craft. It was therefore recommended in late September 47 that an official Air Force investigation be set up to investigate the phenomenon. It was also recommended that other government agencies should assist in the investigation. The Project Sign. This led to the creation of the Air Force's Project Sign at the end of 47, one of the earliest government studies to come to a secret extraterrestrial conclusion. In August 48, an investigator wrote a top-secret intelligence estimate to that effect, but the Air Force Chief of Staff Hoyt Vandenberg ordered it destroyed. The existence of this suppressed report was revealed by several insiders who had read it, such as astronomer and USAF consultant G. Allen Hynek and Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, the first head of the USAF's Project Blue Book. Another highly classified news study was conducted by the CIA's Office of Scientific Investigation, O/E, in the latter half of 52, in response to orders from the National Security Council, NSC. This study concluded UFOs were real physical objects of potential threat to national security. One OS/E memo to the CIA Director, DCE, in December read, "The reports of incident convince us that there is something going on that must have immediate attention. Sightings of unexplained objects at great altitudes and traveling at high speeds in the vicinity of major US defense installations are of such a nature that they are not attributable to natural phenomena or any known types or aerial vehicles. The matter was considered so urgent that O/E drafted a memorandum from the DCE to the NSC, proposing that the NSC establish an investigation of UFO as a priori project of the intelligence and the defense research and development community. It also urged the DCE to establish an external research project of top-level scientists, now not known as the Robertson Panel, to analyze the problem of UFOs. The O/E investigation was called off after the Robertson Panel's negative conclusion in January 53. Okay.